Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a great set of books that are on my gaming table every time I DM D&D. Wizard Spell Compendium from TSR, published starting in 1996. These compendiums cover virtually every spell for the D&D and AD&D system from 1975 to 1995. Very useful works. I'm going to go ahead and show what's inside and why these are right there with the Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master Guide as far as I'm concerned. Okay, the Wizard Spell Compendium. This was a series of 4 books that came out starting in 1996 from TSR, and the idea was to compile virtually every spell from 1975 to 1995. These are very sweet books. They're somewhat hard to come by in print these days, although they are available on DriveThruRPG, and they're pretty reasonable. 2 of them are $10 each, and 2 of them are $5 each. So there's Volume 3 and Volume 4. And I want to take a moment and point out all the page markings. Those aren't mine. Those are my wife's. She believes in marking pages of spells she likes. I point out if you mark every page, it kind of defeats the purpose of marking pages. I usually get smacked when I say something like that. These books are incredibly useful for anybody playing an MU because they have almost every spell that was ever even thought of for the game. In here, they have information on how to make your own scrolls, how to make magic items. There's all kinds of great information in here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a couple of books and show some of the favorites that we found out of these books. My wife and my son especially just dog-eared these for their higher level magic users, and have come up with a couple of good ones that get used frequently at our table. So I'll be right back with that. The first spell I want to touch on is Backblast. It's a Faerûn spell, which means it's from the Forgotten Realms, and it's restricted to Faerûn. I really don't live by that in my campaign. I like spells. I feel they're there to be used. As long as something's not going to unbalance the campaign, I go ahead and I let my players use it, assuming also that they've found the spell or researched it. A lot of times I will give out spell books or scrolls as part of the treasure, or they can research a certain select spell at a couple of different spots I have stashed around Greyhawk. So basically what Backblast does is enables the caster to hurl back spells involving flames or fire explosions. The spell protects a single creature, usually the caster. It can be given to somebody else by touch. It's an invisible aura that exists around you. It's permanent until triggered. When a fiery spell attacks strike, the Backblast functions automatically. The recipient cannot choose to take the damage and keep the protection for later. However, the spell also prevents any disruption of casting. Once activated, Backblast spell works for a single round and then ends. It reflects back all fire attacks in that round. Several different fireballs hit the target. They all bounce back. So it's kind of neat. You don't take damage from something as simple as a fireball, and then you bounce the fireball back onto an opponent. Each of these spells gives a listing of what they are. There's a draw spell down here. I'm going to go ahead and find some other bands of ice. And it'll usually give a, right here, give a little nod as to where it came from. Known to be in the Book of Naz, which is updated from Dragon Magazine. So you have little notations where these spells came from. You get a lot of different powers and abilities. They're not listed by level. They're listed alphabetically. There is an index in the back of the fourth one that gives everything by level, so you can look that way. That was a little tough to deal with, simply because I was used to stuff by level, then alphabetically, but I understand why they went this way. It's a lot easier if I'm looking up for a spell called Backblast than trying to remember that Backblast is, what level spell is it? See? Perfect example. Backblast is a 3rd level spell. It's a lot easier to just look up Backblast than try to remember that Backblast is a 3rd level spell, so I have to look under B under 3rd level spell. So I completely understand why they chose this route. And take a look at a few more of the others that my wife has tagged here. Not picking on my wife, but as long as these are here, I may as well use them. Not really sure what she was going for here. I really don't know. Sometimes she'll tag a spot and then end up not using it. Death's Door, interesting spell. Never really had a ton of use for it. Death Guard. Let's see. Devastate is an 8th level spell. This causes caster's spells to strike with devastating effect. All targets suffer a -5 penalty to save, and all damage done by the spell is increased by 2 to the total maximum. So if it's a die 6, it can only increase it up to 6 points of damage. It won't go to 8 points of damage. And this is a Forgotten Realms Old Empire spell. It is 8th level. And I allow this one. It was found in one of my campaigns. It was a higher level spell that was found in a scroll tube in part of a dragon horde. A long campaign I did where they took out Firehide, an evil red dragon. And one of the things they got out of there was the Devastate spell from Old Empire. I don't allow my players to just go through these books and just grab spells and, oh, this would be great, this would be great. If they find one or two that they're interested in, then we'll discuss how we're going to introduce it to the campaign. So this book, book 2, has a ton of markings for my wife. Let's see here. Fire arrows, lots of fire spells. She enjoys hurling fire at her opponents. Vailian's Fabulous Fireball. So you see what's inside here. These are varied, and they also roll in all the illusionist spells. Because 2nd edition basically did away with the illusionist class, they all get thrown into here. So we have to take a look at the type, abjuration, alteration, to make sure if it's an illusion spell, then those pretty much are forbidden in our campaign from magic users, depending on the illusion spell. Phantasmal Force, of course, is an illusion spell that MUs do have access to. So I make a decision on a case-by-case basis. But like shadow magic, anything like that, I don't allow magic users to use in our campaign. We do have a couple of illusionists, believe it or not. I know it's not a real common class. We do have a couple, and I don't want to steal their thunder. So here we are in the book 3, Negate Magical Weapon. I'm pretty sure that's why it was marked. And we're going to take a look now. I'm going to skip through this, and we're going to take a look at book 4 and the indexes and the other stuff that it offers. So let me go ahead and open the proper pages. I'll be right back. The page numbering it goes from book to book. So I'm now on page 1047, and this will be 1047 of the previous 3 books plus half of this book. I still have half this book left, and it's nothing but appendices. So this was pretty neat. Here are the various spells lists. They're listed by the School of Philosophy, and then by Wizard Specialty, and then a later list lists them by where they originated. Here are a bunch of cantrips. Every cantrip up till 95. This is just incredible. I can't even envision the amount of work this was. And here is something I haven't done anything with. I started a campaign a few years ago on it. The Dragon King spells, the level 10 spells, the legendary level 10 spells. I haven't decided if level 10 spells are going to be something that I introduce. If I do, I've already decided and discussed with my players that they will be a group casting rather than magic wielded by one wizard. So if they want to be able to wield level 10 spells, they're going to have to get together. There's going to be a lot of prep for it. There's going to be a lot of expense involved. And it's going to depend on the individual spell. And then I may do a game where the MacGuffin is to find the spell, and then for whatever need they have the spell, then use the spell. So, Advanced Domination, Defiler Metamorphosis. There's a bunch of stuff here that isn't really Greyhawk-centric. That doesn't really matter. I can usually change anything I need to fit my campaign, and I'm not above just saying, no, this works differently because this. Because first and last and always, it's my campaign. I'm there to have fun. I am DMing a bunch of people who have carved out times from their busy lives, working full-time with kids and everything. They've carved out a few hours to come to my house and play a silly game. I have to make sure that the game is balanced, but I also have to make sure they have fun. For me, fun is the most important aspect of DMing. So here we go. Lichdom. How to become a lich. There were quite a few articles done over the years in Dragon Magazine about lichdom. This one takes the best of the best and kind of synthesizes it down. I liked it a lot. Mythal, the Mythdraenor, the magical sphere over Mythdraenor. Have used Mythals in Greyhawk. There is one in Greyhawk down in Sundi in the Riowood. Riowood. It's hard to say. Rieuwood. I put a Mythal there from an old elf city. So, just an incredible amount of work went into this. Here are the listings of all the general spells by level. So if you know it's a 3rd level spell, but you can't remember the name of it, you can find it here. And then we go by school. So conjuration, summoning, invocation, illusion, phantasm. This section helps me a lot when I'm deciding if it's an illusion spell that should be restricted only to illusionists. And then we have the school shadow spells. Not every shadow spell is only for illusionists. There are a few that are linked to shadow that magic users can use. Generally, if they're a dragon spell, I generally will not allow player characters to use that. And again, that's going to depend. And if they hear of a dragon spell and they want to do research to get a similar effect on their own and they want to invest that time in the cash, then yeah, I probably would allow it. So here we go. By setting, Ravenloft, Planescape, and then list by specialty. So your Frost Mage, your Nature Mage. This is more of a 2nd edition thing, not really anything I use. And then we come to an AD&D glossary. These are the glossary of terms. And then errata for spell compendiums 1 through 3. Considering they only have 1 page of errata, I consider that nothing short of a miracle, considering how many pages there are. I'm sure there's other errata that were missed, but these books I consider to be quite an accomplishment. They're right there with the Encyclopedia Magica. As far as the breadth of the project is just stunning, and the execution is excellent. As I said, these books are available on DriveThruRPG. I think the first 2 are $10 each, and the last 2 are $5 each. I did not see a print-on-demand option for it, but even if you've got these just on a tablet sitting next to you, they're very useful, and the way they're cross-compiled, it's not that hard to navigate on a tablet to find your way around with them. So I consider these books essential. They come out every time I'm DMing anything above about 5th level D&D. These books are sitting on the table, and actually, depending on the number of magic users, they can be there even at 1st level. So that's it for today for page 121. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.